Hello, my name is Leonard, and today I'm going to be explaining how and why I got 6 new geckos this holiday season. On around December 22nd, I came across a Craigslist post selling 6 Crested Geckos for $25 a piece, but the thing was that they had to be sold as a group. Now I saw this as an awesome opportunity to expand the 2 Crested Gecko group that I already had into many more and possibly start breeding. So at the time of seeing this, I thought that my 2 were males. So I was looking for a female to possibly breed to one of them in the future, just as like a fun side project, just something that I could do for the experience of it, not necessarily for like a profit or anything like that. So I saw this, I wanted to do this, but I knew that I could not take on 6 Crested Geckos at a time. So I contacted my friend, I guess, Shelled Reptiles, who is another YouTuber. I explained how we met in a couple different videos, but the most recent one is my 2019 review video, where I explain like the majority of the animals that I have and everything, and I also talk about these Crested Geckos in that video. But he said to wait a day, and he was still interested by then, I guess. Then he would split them with me. So I contacted him because I knew I couldn't take that many in. So I said, how about we get them and we split them somehow, and he agreed to that. So on the 24th of December 2019, I went and picked all 6 of them up for $150. Now, the one thing that interested me, or the main thing that interested me, that 2 were males, 4 were listed as females, but one of those was a baby, so we kind of don't know. But 3 of those, the baby, and then 2 of the females that are actually juveniles, were definite Dalmatian gene Crested Geckos. Like, it was very obvious from the pictures, so that's why I was so interested in them. So as soon as I got them, I set them up, and I will show you that here, and I'll explain more about them throughout this video.
One thing you guys may not know about me is I have a bit of a hoarding thing with fish tanks. So I have like quite a few fish tanks right here, or terrariums. And the reason for that is the quarantine process for both reptiles and fish. So if I get in fish, I can set them up in a 10-gallon. I have so many filters and sponge filters and stuff that pretty much all of them I've gotten second hand, or they're just really old that I have them. And all these tanks also second hand. I didn't buy any of them at all. So I just have collected them over time, and I keep them because I'm about to use them right now. I just got the geckos, as you guys know, and I need tanks to put them in, so I had tanks to put them in, and I got guppies the other day from somebody who didn't want them anymore, and I had a tank to put them in. So this is just something that I think that it helps me the way that I do things. Don't get like a ton of animals in, but I think it's always helpful to have smaller tanks.
The quarantine process is a very important process if you already have current setups for animals like I do. In my room, I have lots of terrariums and aquariums, so when I get new reptiles, especially, if I got new fish, then I put them in different aquariums in my room. But with reptiles, I'm afraid of like external parasites and diseases, so I put them in a separate area. Now this is my bathroom. It looks kind of weird because it's unfinished, and that's why I'm able to put reptiles in it right now. But I'm not really super worried with geckos. I only actually kept them in this type of situation for about a week, because they're kind of different than like their scales are kind of a different structure, so when it comes to like mites or something like that, it's different than with like snakes or iguanas, so I don't really worry about it as much. But this is how I set 3 of them up in just 2 10 gallons and a tub. This is the one that he didn't know the gender of. It's the smallest, definitely a Dalmatian. I don't know if anything else but looks really cool, really tiny. Whenever I get a new reptile in, I'll weigh it and measure it just so I can keep track, and I do this every single month with all of my reptiles that I have. Now I set up the 3 smallest geckos in these plastic shoeboxes that they actually came in, so that was pretty convenient, and all 6 of them came in them. I just set up 3 in them. This is one of the juvenile females, one of the ones who is also a Dalmatian. You can kind of see the size it is right here. Okay, so here's the one I think has like 2 morphs. As you can see, the tail looks really weird, but it definitely has Dalmatian, but like it has really like pronounced stripes of its back, so I think it's a pinstripe. I didn't even know that a pinstripe was a thing. I just kind of figured that it was, because it is a thing in ball pythons, and ball pythons and leopard geckos are the ones that I like morph-wise I kind of understand, but not at all with these. So I think it's a pinstripe Dalmatian crested gecko, but again, I'm not sure. I am colorblind, and I'm also not super into morphs generally, but this one really like wowed me. I think it looks really cool. Now this is what I think is the younger of the 2 males. It's kind of the gray one. I'd say this is the most chill of all 3 geckos, and it's pretty obviously a male. I'm quite sure of that, unlike with the 2 geckos that I had before I got this group. It's pretty skinny. All of them are a little bit skinny, I'd say, compared to my geckos. But here you can see, I was holding it earlier. It seems like the calmest one so far. But yeah, that looks like a male to me. Kind of colorless. Well, it has lots of colors, but it's kind of like a gray, kind of laid back color, if you will. This is the smaller of the 2 males, which is kind of saying something considering the other male came to me with no tail. This is the other male here. He's tailless. He's really bolty and really skinny. So he's crazy. This one's crazy bolty. The other male, also skinny, smaller. I mean, not in lengthwise, but size-wise, he's smaller. They both seem to have huge feet, but this guy right here is really, like, right now he's being abnormally calm. When I pick him up, he doesn't jump, he kind of just runs, you know, like bolty. I'm pretty much fine with handling all of these guys. I can seem to handle them, but he's crazy. And then the adult female is pretty wild as well. Okay, so after looking at these, I actually think that I already have 2 females. The Darwin and Teddy, my 2 crested geckos, I think they're females. So what I'm thinking is this is the largest female, okay? Or the largest gecko that we got. And she's a little bit crazy, but she's really colorful, and she is big. Like, she is crazy long. Like, you just look at her tail. It is just, it's very long. But I think if she's a female, then I definitely have 2 females. Because if you look, the 2 males that we got have much bigger genitals than my 2. But I'm gonna put her into her quarantine tank. So it actually ended up that I had 2 females, and now I had 3 more females, a baby crested gecko, and 2 males. So after looking over them and kind of getting an idea of their personality, their color, their sizes, and everything, I decided that I was going to keep 3 of them. I would keep the really colorful juvenile female and the 2 males. Now, I kind of wanted to keep the adult female, but I knew that I would not be able to, number one, like, have a big enough enclosure right off the bat. Like, I have something, I could figure out something that would be probably like around a 20-gallon, or actually, now that I think about it, a 30-gallon. I would probably be able to keep her in the proper enclosure and everything, but that wasn't really the big thing for me. I always have extra setups. The real big thing was I would not be able to breed her now because, well, I don't have a male of her size, but also I just don't have the time for that right now. This is kind of going to be like a summer project, and then we'll see where it goes from there. But I knew that Shelled Reptiles already has his breeding. I'm sure that he has an adult male. He'd be able to breed her, and that it would be a lot better for him to have her. So I decided to keep the really cool female, since I already have 2 other females, and then the 2 males to be able to breed to the 3 females that I have now. So in the next video, I will be showing you like what happens after I got after I rehomed those 3, which I just sold them to Shelled Reptiles for the same price I paid. Like I said, we were splitting. That'll be in the next episode, and then I set up the other 3 Crested Geckos in kind of like a temporary setup, and I also talk about what their actual permanent setup will be. So stay tuned for that. And now I'm going to show you a clip that was, I think, the day after I got them. So I think that's Christmas, actually, the 25th. I went ahead and fed them, and they were all eating on their own, which is not that crazy for most people, but it's really crazy for me because my 2 Crested Geckos do not do that. They completely rely on me for food, which is just, I don't know how, but I did that on like purpose, but I didn't mean for it to become this reliant. Like, they literally will not find food on their own unless I give it to them. So yeah, these 3 will. Very exciting, makes it a whole lot easier for me. And yeah, so here you can see the juvenile female eating on her own in the plastic shoebox, and then underneath that is the baby who ended up eating later that night. And then here's the other juvenile, and she was just eating, so now she's swallowing, so you can see her beside her bowl there. It's a little bit hard to see. And yeah, the other 3 also ended up eating, but it wasn't till like later after I had gone to sleep. So I believe that quarantine is a very important process. Now, I mainly believe this is when I first got my green iguana Charlie, he actually ended up having mites. Now, I put him through a quarantine process before I set up his proper enclosure. Somehow he got mites after that. He could have had it before. Charlie was my very first reptile when I like kind of started like the YouTube channel and everything, and that was a lot of work. So it's definitely way easier to make sure everything's good before you put them into a really nice setup and everything, or it causes you a whole lot of stress, especially if you have more reptiles. But what I was talking about is the way that iguanas and snakes and like a lot of other lizards, those are just the yeah, like a lot of other lizards, their scales are very easy for like I guess the general reptile mite to get under and stuff and like attach to them. But like leopard geckos and crested geckos have like a different type of scale. So their skin is kind of more like skin, I guess. So the way I understand it, now I could be wrong about this, I'm sure there's a special type of parasite for them, but they don't commonly have the same type of reptile mite, so it's not something that I worry about as much if you just look at them and you see that they have no like weird spotting like they would if they had mites. Now obviously like 3 of those were Dalmatian crested geckos, so that's just a morph. They do have spotting, but not the same type of thing. So that's what I was talking about with that. I actually don't have any snakes, but I know that they get it the same. So basically how I set up these guys is I set them up in a tub. The tub's actually the best because it holds humidity really well. So I have paper towel, which really doesn't hold humidity very well in like say an aquarium, just with like a screen lid. But a tub with like holes in it so they can breathe, obviously, and then paper towel. And then I use wood. You could use like hides or even like fake plants that are sold in pet stores. Now I do not ever use fake plants for anything ever. I have some just in case, like for some odd reason, if I needed to like for a long time keep a crested gecko in a quarantine thing and I thought that it might need someplace to hide, then I have those just in case. But I'll probably end up selling them off with an aquarium at some point, just because I don't really need them for any reason. I don't like fake plants at all. And then I don't really like fake hides either. The only thing that I'll use that's like not DIY or not like natural is like water bowls. I have a water bowl in my leopard geckos enclosure, but other than that, I don't actually keep a water bowl with my crested geckos because I spray them down. And in my iguana's cage, I just have like a tub in there for him, but soon I'll have a fish tank, so stay tuned for that. But I keep a paper towel and then some type of wood. As you saw, I had like a bark hide and then just a piece of wood for them to crawl on, and they all seem to do all right with that. The two that I kept in fish tanks, actually, like I'd say though that was kind of worse because they could get under and then the glass would be kind of cold, or get under the paper towel and the glass would be kind of cold, and it didn't really stay humid like it did in the tub. So I really think that tubs are the way to go with quarantine. Now the difference of having using an aquarium as a terrarium is that once it has the soil, then the soil holds more humidity than paper towel would. So they obviously have more, like they have plants and different things to hide on, but then they also have the dirt to kind of keep it more humid and everything, as well as the plants. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like it down below. If you have any comments or concerns, put in the comments below. And go subscribe to Shelled Reptiles. I'll put the link somewhere on the screen to his channel. And also subscribe to mine for the new Crested Gecko enclosures, new iguana cage, a bunch of stuff's coming. It's going to be great. Have a fantastic day.